I'm Katy Winn and I own Wink Photography, and I'm here to talk to you about my experiences at Fashion Week and what's in my camera bag. So I'm opening up my Pelican case, which I absolutely love because I can use this as my stand. I can stand on it, I can put my monopod on it, it's hard, it's waterproof, and it travels really well. So the only thing is it's very conspicuous. So if you want to go incognito, you might want to try something different. Okay, here we go. My packed Fashion Week bag. I always carry a ton of batteries because my days are very long, and I'm shooting all kinds of varied things within the tents and from one venue to another. So I never know how long the shoots are going to last, so I have tons of batteries. These are all AA's for my flashes, and of course I have my Nikon batteries for my D3s, so I always carry at least 2 or 3 of those. My days can last from, oh gosh, anywhere from 8 hours to 14 or 16 hours of straight shooting. So this is why I have so many batteries on hand. I never know what's going to be around the corner. I could be shooting a party and I'll need a lot of flash. I could be shooting without flash for the entire day and then I just have extra weight. So here's my batteries. I also, in this little case here, it's my little, extras case. I have my absorbency tissue for my lenses. I also have my little lens wipe here, a pair of scissors, just in case it's nice to have a pair of scissors around to cut things, my hex wrench, and a couple extra nuts and screws to go with the mechanics of my putting together of flashes and cameras and stuff. Okay, so I shoot a lot of backstage beauty. Most of my clients now, I used to shoot for Getty Images, and most of my work then was reportage. So I'd shoot around the tents and do runway and things like that, and I would just a little bit of everything. Now it's mostly backstage beauty. My clients are fingernails and makeup, and so I like to give a nice soft beauty look as if we're in a studio, but not really. Obviously you can't really do that. So this is my small reflector. I sometimes give this to the model and ask them to hold it under their chin so that we can reflect some nice light up onto their faces without having a whole bunch of harsh shadows. It's the last thing you want when you're looking at a model beautifully made up. So this is my little bitty reflector that I bring with me. It's light and easy to carry. Another battery. This is my external battery pack for one of my flashes. I really love these. This isn't a Quantum, it's a Cyclone, and you can get them at B&H for a fraction of the price that you would pay for a Quantum. The thing that I love, aside from the price of these batteries, is their workhorses. They last and last for the type of work that I do. You might want something a little more heavy duty if you're really reliant upon the external battery. But in these instances, this is the perfect battery to have. As I said, it's light, and with all this equipment, the last thing you need is another heavy, bulky piece of equipment hanging off of you. So this is my go-to Cyclone. Good battery. Another battery. I'm just all about the batteries here. This is for my iPad and for my cell phone, and I never have enough battery charge. So I love this one in particular. I'm not sure how to say it, P-U-K-U, Puku, but it was developed by another Fashion Week photographer, and so he had me try it out, and this thing lasts like nobody's business. Okay, so one of the things you really want to bring, this is my best kept secret, have a tungsten filter on your flash when you go backstage to do beauty. It's the best thing you can do as far as giving your images the proper balance, quality, and color and white balance. This one comes with the SB910, so it's very convenient. It just pops on and off, so you don't even have to use any gaffer's tape to tape on a gel or anything like that. So I love that about the SB910. I hope they never stop making these. They're wonderful. So I place this on top of one of my flashes, and I use it at all times when I'm backstage. Okay, and here's my little stash of cards. I love my CF cards. I have a great collection of different types of cards. As you can see, they're mostly SanDisk. I trust my SanDisk. Everybody's got a personal favorite. SanDisk for me has never done me wrong. Whoops. But Lexar, on the other hand, I've had some problems, so I stick with SanDisk. Hopefully, now that I've said this, I don't have problems with SanDisk. The next thing I have in here, it doesn't really go with the cameras, but it does go with my work, and I always keep it in with my cameras. But this is my air card. I always have to have wireless internet with me. This is very important as far as my clients go, because my clients need the images right away, and that's part of our agreement in most cases. So I edit the images as soon as I can on the spot with my computer, and I send them out to places like Dropbox or Photo Shelter, so my clients can at least get a small collection of images, just my best selects. They'll get 10 of them, so they can send them out immediately to any media outlets that are interested in using the images. So, okay, we're getting closer here. I guess we should get into the big guns. This is just this is a camera bracket, and this is what I use for my flash. Sometimes I keep it in my bag. I don't use it all that much during Fashion Week. It's not necessary for me, but I do get called to parties, and I'll do a random red carpet here or there. And so it's always good to have one in your bag. I used to have a CB Mini, but I've resorted to this one, and I'll explain in a minute. I love this one because it's just a flat bar. And of course you attach your flash right here. Ta-da! And lock it in. But underneath it's not a regular screw, it's a hex nut. And I found that it stays in better in your camera. I've lost my entire bracket a few times with this screw. Don't ask me how that happens. Most people it doesn't happen to, but for me that happens. So I use the hex nut. So there's my bracket, and here's why. Here comes the big guns. This is one of my cameras. I shoot with Nikon D3S. And you can't really see because I don't have the it's not exposed. You can't tell what kind of camera I'm using. And that's because I use something called camera armor. And it's this spongy, rubbery, black stuff that just goes on top of your camera. And I love it. I love this stuff. I bought it a long time ago. This will completely protect your camera if you have the problem that I do with, like, I carry 2 cameras at a time. Sometimes they knock into each other. Sometimes they knock into a wall when you're running or walking through someplace. I mean, I'm just generally a very clumsy person, so this helps a little bit. You don't want to drop the camera and like see how it works, but it's a good shield for most things. And of course, if there's a little bit of, you get a little dampness, it keeps the dampness off the areas where you really don't want that dampness to get in. So I refuse to take this off my camera. I've modified it though, because camera armor, normally there's a bottom to this, and I cut the bottom off because I need to have this area for my bracket. And I found that with my CB Mini, it doesn't fit properly with the camera armor. It's the CB Mini, if you're familiar, kind of curves around, and it's got a thicker bottom, so you can't stick it underneath the armor and it won't stay on, and it kind of slides around. It's just really uncomfortable and inconvenient. You can make it work, but why give yourself more trouble? So what I'll do is, I should probably use a table for this. Just pop my bracket in like so, and I'll just screw the hex nut in. So that works beautifully for me. I don't know if Camera Armor still makes these. There was a time when they stopped making these, and I think the company might have gone out of business. I hope that they are still making these because, in my opinion, this was probably one of the best things you could buy for your very expensive piece of equipment. So the D3S, I have the Nikon 28-300, and this is a 3556. At first I was a little bit anxious about buying a lens like this. It's a little bit cheaper. It's not a 2.8, and I've always used a 2.8 or wider aperture. This 3556 makes me a little bit worried, especially for more darkly lit situations, and there are plenty of them in the tents. But this is my favorite go-to lens now. Love this lens. I've had this lens for a couple of seasons, and I've got my 70, my 24-70, and I've got a wide lens, and I rarely put them on. This is perfect for backstage beauty. You can zoom in really close. Of course, it's not, you know, it's not a macro lens, and I do have macro, but I don't really use it as much as I use this one. It's so nice to have the zoom. It's such a packed out area when you're in the backstage area, and so you can't really, you don't have the freedom to back up and, you know, get close, and so this lens will do it for you. The light is usually pretty good backstage, so you don't really need to, you know, open the aperture that wide, and the image quality is gorgeous. The pictures are so sharp and beautiful. I love this lens. I wish every lens was like this lens. So I can't say enough good stuff about it. I only use B&W filters. Love my B&W filters. They're a little more expensive, but they're worth the investment. They render perfect, clear image quality. And they keep my lenses nice and safe. And of course, with all the banging around I do, it's probably a good idea to have a filter on my lens. So we have another, we have food. Always bring food. When you're working Fashion Week, you might never eat. So I always make sure I have something healthy. I have some nuts in here and a Pure Bar, but just something to fill up with and easy to reach in for in your case, and make sure you eat. And of course, I've mentioned this a million times, but always bring hand sanitizer. I always put this on before I do this, and you need this. There's so many germs running around the pit. It doesn't hurt to drink your emergencies in the morning and then take your Purell with you, or your hand sanitizer. Bathe in it. Bathe in it. After 8 days, you'll be proud that you did. I am a healthy person right now because I use my hand sanitizer. Okay. I should have gaffer's tape in here, but I don't. I didn't have time to get gaffer's tape, so I have some duct tape, and it's really good to have some tape in your bag that you can mark off a spot on the runway so you can make sure that your place is saved. Very, very important. And it's also been a real lifesaver for many instances. So you can see I had a little problem with one of my straps, so a while back, so I used tape for it. You might want to, you know, I just broke on this lens, I broke my my shade, so I can't keep it on the lens, but normally I tape the shade onto the lens. See, there's where I made the little, and this was at Fashion Week, the little dent. So this is exactly why you have your filters on your lens, because this saved my lens when I broke my shade. And so this lens itself is a wonderful lens. This is a 17-35. It's not the 14-24. Sometimes you don't need that width. And I found backstage I really don't need the 14-24, even though it renders a beautiful quality image. The 17-35 is more than enough for me. I use it, I take it out every so often, not as much as my 28-300, but this lens, of course, will give you a different type of image. You want to go a little bit wider, show more broad view. This is the lens to use. It's also, I hate to say it, but in terms of expense, it's not as expensive as the 14-24. So if something happens, you're not sobbing on the ground. It's not the 14-24. I'd be decimated. So 17-35. And as you can see, something did happen to it. Okay, 24-70. Standard, great party lens. The lens you need to have in your bag. The first lens you should have in your bag, I think. Every new photographer should have a 24-70 2.8, especially if they're Nikon. But this lens renders a beautiful image, nice and sharp, crisp colors, and it's your perfect go-to lens for parties, street style, backstage area, definitely. And it's also quite good for presentations. Sometimes we'll use, sometimes we don't do runways, we do presentations, so I'll sometimes use a 24-70 and I'll use the 28-300. Even though that's overlap, it's a different, I find it's a different image quality with this lens than you get with the 28-300. So I sometimes will just use these two lenses. And another Nikon D3S. Love this Nikon. Usually I didn't bring my lens extender, but sometimes I bring a 1.4 with me just in case to get a little extra zoom on my 70-200. But I'll usually, if I'm doing a runway, wasn't on. If I'm doing runway, I usually will use the 70-200, my monopod, and the 1.4 extender. This season, I experimented with another lens, a 100-400, and I like it. The image, it's a new Nikon lens, and the image quality is beautiful. I love this Strobist collection gels, the Roscoe Strobist. They're cheap. You can get them anywhere. You can run to Adorama right before Fashion Week and get these for like, I think what, $4.95 or something like that. Something crazy cheap. And it's just in case, you know, like I only have this one tungsten filter here, but this has the whole gamut. Every color filter you could ask for is right here in this little box. So it's saved me more than a handful of times, and it's worth it. Whatever you buy, camera equipment wise, if you use it once and it saved you, it's worth the money. So this I feel is up $4.95. Come on, you can't get a stick of gum for that price. I always have a Sharpie. You want to be able to write on your tape, you want to be able to write something down, a Sharpie is always the way to go. So thank you so much for watching and paying attention to everything I had to say, and I hope that, you know, some of you might be more advanced than I am, some of you might not, but I hope that you might be able to take something away from this camera bag and use it for yourself and make it good.